I'm Chronix for the most extreme wrestling, and today I'm going to be talking about a documentary about a wrestler that we all know and love, Mick Foley, and his documentary for all mankind, the life and career of Mick Foley.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh no, I'm just doing a wrestling video. And before we get to the actual content of this Blu-ray, let me just make a few comments about the packaging of this thing. The packaging has been changing and evolving over the past couple of years, as the production has within the documentary, but this one was kind of bizarre, I thought. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be walking in a store, not knowing anything about wrestling or Mick Foley or anything, and just picking this up and thinking to yourself, without reading the back or really just looking at the imagery and thinking, what the crap is this? A guy in 2013 wearing a hairstyle that looks pretty much like a mullet and wearing flannel with a sock on his hand with books and things. What in God's name is this? But anyways, I thought it was kind of an interesting depiction to use. It's almost like a drawing in a way. You have all of his books being cheaply plugged. You got his Dude Love glasses, Mr. Sacco, his Cactus Jack boots and jacket and stuff like that. And I just thought it was kind of a nice way to sum it up. And you have him sitting in a chair telling a story, because he's a storyteller inside of the ring and books, best-selling author and all that kind of stuff. And as I put in this disc and started watching it, I thought to myself, you know, this really is a different way of producing the documentary. You know, in the past, you would have guys, they would sit down in front of a camera. It would be very one-dimensional, or two-dimensional, I guess it would be, or whatever. The guys would sit down in their chair and they'd be like, well, I was born in Blooming Grove, Oklahoma, or something like that, you know, and then I remember as a kid I watched wrestling on TV, and it would show, you know, clips of AWA just kind of thrown in there or whatever, and that's the way documentaries in WWE had gone for a long time, but they were kind of old school, out of date, kind of like 80s TV documentary style. And I'm glad in recent years, and especially with this one, they implored more cameras into the mix. You know, they have multiple angles. They don't just have one solid flat shot, much like this one. And, you know, they actually have like close-ups and things of that nature. But, you know, you see what I'm saying? I'm a dude with an HD camera in my house. WWE's got more money than me. You would assume that they could put together a better production, and they did in this one, and I like that. It was kind of different. They had this intro with all these little things going on, and I really like the feel of it. Now, I did notice on the disc, though, it says a 2-disc tail, because it's the Blu-ray, but if it was the DVD, it would be a 3-disc tail. And to the unknowing customer, they might think to themselves, well, my God, am I getting less on Blu-ray? Well, my friend, indeed you are not, because you actually get a few extra things on the Blu-ray, which I can't remember exactly what they are, because I didn't have to compare. I just bought this one and got all of it, so, you know, whatever. But first, when I opened this, I thought to myself, wait a second, which is the first disc? Now, you might be thinking, well, logically, Chronix, the first disc is the one on the left, but I didn't think of that. It didn't cross my mind. I just looked at it, and then I looked at up here, you can't see, but it says disc, and it has a picture of this, and then it says disc, and it has a picture of this. Well, actually, this one is a Sacco. This one is just like that one, for whatever reason, I don't know. And it doesn't say disc 1 or disc 2. It doesn't say anything. It just has these. And I thought, well, how am I supposed to know which disc is number 1? So, me, being a doofus, chose this one. And it was disc 2. It was not the correct disc with the documentary on it. And I thought, that is saying a lot about WWE these days. Disc 1 is the Cactus Jack disc. You would think, in WWE's twisted mind, that Mick Foley would be number 1. Because in WWE timeline, it was Mick Foley, then it was Cactus Jack. But they actually embraced WCW history, ECW history, and WCCW history, and said, no, WWE has been overridden. Cactus Jack was first. Mick Foley was second. And it just blew my mind. Because that's just not the way they do things, my friend. But as a process of elimination would tell and dictate, I chose this was the wrong one. So obviously I had to switch the other one. I just wanted to point that out. So strange not to have it labeled as to what the disc is. You have to know as a wrestling fan which came first. And me, I failed that test. And I hope that you didn't, because that would just be sad. For all of us, for all of mankind. But I liked how they told the story of his early days. They had a lot of footage that his parents had taken of him playing around as the kid. You know, they had a video camera all through his childhood. So that's nice. You get to actually see things other than just throw some pictures up on the screen. And I was looking at this and I was like, you know what? This really makes me think about something. I thought about the This Is Your Life segment. All these thoughts just came running through my head as watching this documentary. But the This Is Your Life, it was like the highest rated segment or whatever. It was so important, it was so good, and they tried to duplicate it so many times and they failed every single time. And I thought to myself, I think I know why now. It worked and why it doesn't work now. It's very simple. Back in the day, they didn't have good documentaries. You didn't get to see into the past. You didn't get to hear the stories. You didn't get to see nothing. The documentaries they did in the late 90s was almost none, and they were not as involved as they are now. And they don't show as much, and they can't tell as much. Because, I mean, they didn't own WCW back then. They only had their limited history, and the Attitude Era only wanted to talk about the Attitude Era. Talking about olden times was just not good. You know, you want to be new and innovative. You don't want to talk about old crap. Just like how NWO didn't come out and talk about how great the NWA was and Ric Flair and crap like that. You see what I'm saying? They had to distance themselves. But anyways, I think the reason that segment was so popular, and it isn't now when they try to recreate it, is that back then we didn't have all that stuff to look at, and when they showed it with The Rock and his history, people are like, wow, this is really interesting and cool. Well, now we got documentaries like this all the time. And when we want to sit down and watch something involved like that for 2.5 hours or whatever, we get the documentary. But we didn't have it then. So that is thus why I believe that the This Is Your Life segment that's recreated in recent times, nobody cares or wants to see. Because we got these now. So that void in our life is now fulfilled. And it is fulfilled greatly with this DVD, and hopefully I can actually get through this disc. I just had all these thoughts just popping in my head watching this thing. But I noticed something very odd in this, you know. I saw Shane Douglas on this disc. He was interviewed, and I was like, wow, because in recent times, Shane Douglas, he has been kind of on a crusade against WWE betraying and desecrating the ECW name and brand and everything, and he's been very vocal about it. So I just assumed that they wouldn't bring him back, but I guess since he's such a great friend of Mick Foley's, and they have so much history, that they brought him back, and Douglas didn't really have a problem with it, because he's like, this is for my friend. And, you know, it's like they either just brought the guy into a room with a director and a couple of camera guys and a sound guy, or, you know, it wasn't like the dude was having to sit right next to Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon was like, damn it, Shane, you talk about how much WCW sucks, and stuff like that. So, you know, I could see why they'd have him on there, and the guy is smart, and he's entertaining, so that was cool. And this, I got to a point in the documentary, I was having a good time, I liked it, and everything was going great, but then there was a problem. Believe it or not, there was a problem. I was watching the documentary when they was talking about him leaving WCW, and I thought to myself, they are now telling us a story that contradicts a story they told in the past. Yes, it really blew my mind, because leaving the WCW story in the ECW Rise and Fall documentary, Mick Foley says that he left WCW because they were getting sued and it was part of a talent exchange and a settlement of a lawsuit. So he went to ECW. He took the tag team title with him and he spit on it, and that was a big deal for Ric Flair, and that caused problems and friction. And this one, he says he went to WCW because he wanted to, or he went to ECW because he wanted to broaden his horizons or something. He went to ECW twice. First time he said that he had a disagreement with Ole Anderson and he left or something. And then he wanted to broaden his horizon, so he left. But nowhere in this one did they talk about how he left because of a contract dispute. They made him leave, and he went under contract to WCW over there or whatever. I mean, the stories, my point is, they don't coagulate. They contradict each other. In one of these, Mick Foley is lying about why he went to ECW and left WCW. And I just found that to be odd and very, very strange. Why they did that, I have no freaking clue. I don't know what the true story is. I guess I'll have to read Mick Foley's book and assume that for some reason, because it's written on pages, it is more the truth than these. I have no idea. I have the book. I haven't finished it. And I don't think I've even gotten that far. I can't remember. It's a good book, though. More in-depth stories than anything you'll see in any documentary. Books are amazing. I just don't have the attention span to read a book that's that long. But I will get there eventually, my God, I'm telling you. And I thought it was great. They had Vader and Paul Heyman being interviewed, and they had like people like The Miz and stuff being overdramatic. But I thought about Vader. Another one of my revelations. I thought, Vader is on here. I guarantee you that this interview with Vader was conducted at the same time he came to Raw and did his little squash match during like Raw 1000 or whatever they did. You know, they had him come in and beat up Heath Slater, I think. I can't remember. But he came in and it was awesome, right? And Sid Vicious came in too and stuff like that. And I thought to myself, you know what? WWE is genius. Because they bring these guys in, they do like almost nothing in the ring, get a huge pop, they get loved by the fans, they sit backstage before the show, do documentaries, they get asked several questions. They can have stuff to put on a DVD like this. They can have stuff to talk about The Undertaker and his future DVD documentary whenever they do that, and Triple H as well. So not only do they get a payday for the showing up and being in front of the crowd, they get a payday from this, they get a payday from future DVDs. I mean, the guys come in there and don't do a whole lot, but get all this money over an extended amount of time. So it's a great deal for everybody. Another revelation. I don't know why, but it was. A weird thing about this documentary is that in one of the matches they cut out on commentary the mentioning of China, which I found odd because Mick Foley blatantly says the word China talking about her in the documentary portion. So I was like, that doesn't even make sense. So I don't know, I mean, maybe they did the match first and they made that decision and then they changed it later and then just like, screw it, we're not going to go through the time to put it back in there or something. I have no idea. But anyways, one thing that I absolutely love about this, other than it's freaking about Mick Foley.
What are you doing? You're not watching the Mick Foley DVD,
I mean,
are you?
I'm not talking about Mick Foley.
Why would you watch that?
But the thing is that you get to see the WWF logo, and it's so strange hearing the letters WWF, because it's almost like you're, when you see it, it's like you're seeing nudity on WWE PG TV, and you hear it, and it's like hearing the F-bomb, WWF. Oh my God, I haven't heard those letters since 2002. My ears are burning. But it was, it's great to see that unblurred. It allows you to relive the moments much better without being like, what is all that crap on the screen? But that was nice. The only thing that killed me was the fact that Cactus Jack's music couldn't be in it. And I would have to go back and watch again, but I believe that was a problem in the NWO Revolution DVD. Now, I could be wrong about that, because it's been like a few months since I've watched that, but I don't think it was in their music was in there either, the NWO music, but the Cactus Jack music definitely isn't. And I know that the Cactus Jack music is like, it's not owned by WWE, it's a production theme owned by someone else, much like the Hardy Boys theme and many other themes. But it is not owned by them, and therefore they'd have to pay extra, or they couldn't get licensing. I have no idea. Maybe they thought they'd have to pay too much money over a large amount of time. Who freaking knows? But they couldn't have that on there. Maybe they didn't think it was a big deal. But I love that music, and every time, you watch one of these matches and it has the replacement music, it's like, oh, it sucks. Because the music was powerful. The music was important to his character. It just really was. Even though it was not made specifically for him, it embodies him in so many ways. It just fit perfectly. But anyways, that was what I thought about this documentary. I thought it was greatness, and I mean, my God, Mick Foley. All of us love Mick Foley. How could you not? The man is awesome. He put his body on the line, and he is unlike any other superstar in history. He might have done some things that a lot of people wouldn't agree with now or would never do again. But he's a one-of-a-kind character. He's not a cookie-cutter guy. No, not in any way possible. Mick Foley is the man, and so glad that he came out with this documentary, and I'll be able to hold on to it forever. Oh no.
This is my version of the Mick Foley DVD and what I thought about the entire thing. So here we go. First we go. I'm Mick Foley. I'm the smartest person in the whole world, and I'm so awesome. I'm so smart. Bam, 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 bam. Oh my God, why do I have a concussion? I don't understand. Why not? Like, I should just needlessly give myself a concussion. But I'm so freaking smart. That's what I think about Mick Foley. How could this have possibly happened? I don't know what wrestling move I'm gonna do. Wait, I don't understand. I'm so smart, but why am I hurt? Oh my God. Oh, Vince told me it would look good for TV if I gouged my eyeballs out, so I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna stab myself in the chest because it'll make blood, and blood is great. Wait, let me do another super awesome wrestling move. Oh. Well, oh wait, I have one more. That's the Mick Foley DVD. I'm Macho Man. I'm wondering, Mick Foley, why am I not in the Hall of Fame and you are? I don't understand. Oh, I know, Macho Man. It's because you didn't do this. Needlessly, a bajillion times. Oh, really? I did moves and stuff. No, that's not how you get in the Hall of Fame. What you do is this, and then this. And then this. Oh, so basically you're telling me that you're the greatest because you hit your head on stuff and fell off stuff, and you're also really smart even though you gave yourself brain injuries, and I should have done that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. I know that you retired at a reasonable age and were respectable and cool, but what you should do is just keep going until you physically injure yourself and then claim that you're really smart. Thanks, Mick. Good talk. Hey, Marty.
Hey.
You know how you could have been the most successful wrestler of all time and had people praise you like you're freaking Jesus?
No, because I totally didn't do that at all with my career.
Okay, so what you should have done is given yourself brain injuries.
Oh yeah? Well, I do drink a lot, okay?
I know, but just drinking a lot is not enough.
Oh.
You also have to hit your head repeatedly on objects for no reason. Here, I'll demonstrate. I'm going to hit myself repeatedly in the head right now.
Oh.
Do you see what technical wrestling ability that I have?
Wow.
And if you do that enough times, and you actually give yourself brain injuries while actually calling yourself really smart, and then you write a freaking 2,000-page long book about how awesome you are, then people will think you are wrestling Jesus.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then, if you really want to shake things up, you can do this.
Oh, that was...
Or sometimes you can change it up. You land on your back.
Oh.
And then it's really cool if you put an impaled knife right there.
Oh,
then
no.
you can impale yourself on the knife, and if you cut your head off, people will love you even more. They just repeatedly injure themselves. See, I hit myself in the head, even for recreational reasons. I think it's so much fun. Because my eyes are already crooked and I already have brain injuries, so I should just keep doing this. And when I talk about my career, what I say is, I have one more good fall in me. I don't say I have another good match. I say I got one more good stunt, which means I'm going to climb as high as I've ever climbed before. I think I'm going to jump out of an airplane and face plant on the ground. And then I'll be like the most awesomest guy ever.